We're here.
I wish I could give you this feeling. I wish I could give you this feeling. On the corner.
What up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Corner Podcast. This week's episode of the Corner is brought to you by Casper Mattresses. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the cost. You know, me and Andreas are always covering events. We're always writing articles. But when we do have time to sleep, we lay our head down on a nice, pillowy soft, premium mattress from Casper Mattresses. Casper is revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and going straight to you. No showrooms, no middleman. Everyone's seen those creepy guys trying to follow you around the department store. None of that anymore. You get your hands on a nice premium mattress by going straight to Casper Mattresses.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got to get my rest. So Casper Mattresses is the goods. I'm telling you right now. So listen, you can get $50 off of any mattress purchase by visiting Casper.com/thecorner and entering the promo code TheCorner. That's one word, TheCorner. That's Casper.com/thecorner, promo code TheCorner. Terms and conditions apply.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Corner Podcast. Shout out to the sponsors. Kel Dansby here. Andreas and Kel is here. It's been a crazy day for me. Technology does not like me, so it's taking forever to get this podcast started. But for you, Andreas Hale made sure it happened. He was on me, like, nah, get it up right now. Not now, but right now. And we had to wait anyway, because Kevin Lee kept us waiting in anticipation to see what the hell was going on. Is he going to make weight? Is he not going to make weight? Always some drama around the major UFC cards. We'll get to that in a second. But Andreas, we got to talk about being here in Las Vegas with the tragedy last weekend. It was crazy. I was coming in from Arizona. I saw everything. I was driving in at the time. Couldn't believe it. You had people, close to you and, friends of the family over there. It was just a crazy situation. What were your feelings about the tragedy?
I mean, it sucks, man. It's a frightening little situation where we've got a mass shooting in Las Vegas and people dying. And for me, I was completely oblivious. I was up, I was trying to get some sleep. So I had no idea what was going on until like 3, 4 in the morning when I started seeing it on social media. Because usually I wake up, I grab my phone. It's just natural for me to look. And I saw a mass shooting. I saw Shooter. I saw Harvest 911. I didn't even know there was a festival out here, to be honest. I had no clue.
You're not into the country music?
No, and actually I'll get to something about that, which is kind of eerie at the same time. But I'll address that in a minute. But, yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's unfortunate. But it's just something that I've been kind of talking about for years and years on end. I've written about it. Gun reform. This man had multiple semi-automatic rifles. He modified them. He was able to carry out basically a point and click, to spray the area and hit as many people as he could. Over 500 people injured, 58 or 59 deaths. I don't know what the total is that I've seen it go back and forth.
It's 59 with him. We don't include him anymore.
Well, yeah, you can't include him. He killed himself.
Yeah.
It's a guy from Mesquite. And, for those listening who don't have no idea, Mesquite's like an hour from Vegas. It's like a retirement area. Old people go there to retire. There's no hustle and bustle. There's a few casinos out there. But other than that, it's pretty quiet. So for a man to basically drive 1 hour from Mesquite to Las Vegas, like he had to have something planned. The thing is, nobody knows why he did this. But my answer is because he's white and he's old and he's crazy. You don't have to be a mental case. You don't have to be in strike to commit a murder. I mean, Ted Bundy was basically the guy next door before he started his serial killings and raping women and just kind of destroying lives. This man is the same thing. We don't know why. And sometimes people just do shit. And there doesn't necessarily have to be a reason. So, sometimes you're fed up and pissed off and you just want to shoot a whole bunch of people.
It seems like he had planned this shit for a while, though. He's been collecting guns for years, collecting ammo for years. It's weird. He lived a double life. They say his girlfriend didn't know. That's to be seen. But if she didn't, then he clearly had like a whole bat cave full of crazy-ass weaponry.
Well, that's always the problem. There are people that have lots of guns who don't do anything, right? But why do you have so many guns? It's always a question to me. You know, if you collect guns, if you feel like you want to collect guns, well, let's not make them operable. You know, you can't operate these guns. Well, now you just collect guns. That's cool. It's unnecessary to have 19 firearms in one place. It's unnecessary to have 40 firearms because what are you shooting at? You know, people are like birds. The only thing you can hunt in Mesquite is wild boar, right? And you know, you could probably kill a wild boar with a handgun if you really needed to. I'm not saying to take away people's guns. Even though I'm not an advocate for guns at all, there was a book by Gordon Parks, I can't even remember which one, where he talked about almost shooting somebody because he heard a noise when he had a handgun. They kind of took him away from everyone on a firearm. I've been the same way. I feel like more guns causes more drama and more likely. Imagine if everybody had a firearm at the festival. They would all be shooting each other because they wouldn't even know where the bullets were coming from. They would just saw guns and they would shot each other. But yeah, I mean, you don't really know how long somebody has been thinking about things. I mean, we all have our demons, and a lot of us, because of social media, you feel like you have to have a digital imprint where people can understand who you are. For me, I'm very private, so if anything would happen to me, people would make up these things based on what I post on social media, but there's so many things that people don't know about me. And this shooter is the same case. I mean, he had no digital footprint, so nobody really knew what his mental state was and why, but people are going to come up with reasons. They're going to say it was linked to ISIS. They were going to say that he was a Trump supporter, he was against Trump. We don't know why. He's just crazy. And my thing is just you don't need to have so many guns. We need gun reform laws. And all it's going to do is another mass shooting, and then we're going to bring this up again, and the government's going to ignore it because Trump is funded by the NRA. Even though he said when the Newtown shooting, was it Sandy Hook or was it Newtown?
Sandy Hook, I think.
Well, when Sandy Hook happened, he had Obama's back, but then when you start getting paid by the NRA, of course you're not going to speak against them. So it's a fucked up situation, man. It makes you just feel really vulnerable here. And there's some days I just, you know, for the past week, I tend to forget that actually happened here. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're coming in from Arizona and, you know, you hear about a mass shooting.
Well, it's crazy because if people don't know, I obviously work for ABC 13 here in Vegas. So it's coming through my work emails. So I see it before it's even really spread like that. And I'm just like, yo, what the hell is happening? At that point, misinformation is the worst thing you can get. So working for the news, we have to check everything. So when people are saying there's a shooter at the Aria, down on the Strip, at the MGM, we're checking all these sources, and I'm just seeing something that looks like there's 5 shooters on the Strip. So by the time we weed it down and find out the exact information, which goes pretty fast, everyone else still was taken off with the fake information. But when we got it, you know, just targeted to that area and just seeing all the chaos and people send in videos to our email, to our Facebook. So videos straight from the venue, 20, 30 minutes out. And you just see the chaos and people run and move. It was bananas. It's hard to even realize what's going on. And being in the news, it kind of takes you away from the emotions of a situation. And you have to kind of just clear that out and look logically and deduce what is exactly happening to these people and all that shit. So I wasn't even really there emotionally. It was just like, yo, you just see all this information. It seems like a movie, just going across everything. And by the time we found out it was one shooter, the guy had a ton of guns. He shot out the glass. There's so many questions just running in and out. And then people are looking for answers. So you got to slow down. We saw people give out wrong information online. That shit just causes more hysteria. Like, you just got to be real careful with that. So it was bugged out. The work week has been hectic. A lot of hours, a lot of craziness. The photos of the dude in the hotel room, seeing all the guns scattered around. Wrote a couple articles on, reform in many ways. Hotel security reform was the first article I wrote. And anyone who's come to Vegas and stayed in Vegas, they don't check nothing going into a hotel.
No.
Nothing at all. I was talking about it in our group chat. I was like, yo, me, you, and our box of podcast stuff, which to anyone else just looks like a mailbox type joint with wires sticking up. And we had red cords and green cords and a bunch of microphone cords. That could be a ball. Like, we just carried it into the Aria, up the elevator, and into friend of podcast Marcus Vandenberg's room to record a podcast. But in no way was it organized, and we just had wires sticking up everywhere. No one asked a question. No one blinked an eye. And it's just crazy to see, man. No one checks bags. No one does any of this. And it has to lead to change. One time is too much. And like you said, with the gun reform, one time is too much. We just keep talking about it. I have friends who are huge gun advocates, who own guns and are responsible with their guns. You know, power to them. I know I'm not a gun person, so I don't have a gun. I've never shot a gun. I got caught in New York. People were shooting at a park during a basketball game and shit. People got grazed, quick grazed. Other people got shot. I don't fuck with guns. It's just not my thing. I've seen way too many people be shot at in New York to think it's cool. Like, that's just not a Western for me. I'm not trying to go hunting. Like, no, I've seen the opposite end of guns when the shit ain't cool at all. So I'm not part of that culture. I'll never know that culture. But if they do it responsibly, that's cool. You also don't need, like you said, 40 guns. Like, if people are registering their guns and they're responsible with it, let those people have, okay, you can have 3 or 4 guns at a time. That's it. And you can only have this caliber and underneath. So you can have 2 handguns. If you want a rifle, you can have 1 rifle. You can have like a shotty or something. That's it. That's all you need.
I mean, to be honest, I don't even think you need that. I mean, I think there's absolutely no purpose for a semi-automatic rifle. I mean, for what? You know, let's be honest. Nobody's really hunting for food. Nobody's hunting. You know, the people say, "Oh, I hunt," but it's game hunting. You know, nobody's really hunting for food. If the shooter, Stephen Paddock, had a revolver, that shit would have never happened.
He did have a revolver. It took his melon off with it.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if he wanted to execute this plan with a revolver, it would have never happened.
No,
there wouldn't have been 500 people injured. There wouldn't have been 59 deaths. If he had a 6-shooter, this wouldn't have happened. But you know, it's the politics of it all, and you know, furthermore, it was, you know, the irony of this, and even though, you know, there's so many lives lost, you have to politicize these things, and people say they don't want to politicize it, but let's be real here. People were on my timeline just talking about black-on-black crime, right? People were on my timeline talking about the national anthem protests, and why aren't you guys protesting black-on-black crime? And even though people in Chicago have marched and have been advocates for trying to find a way to squelch these things, I mean, it's happened in Los Angeles, happens in Chicago. This was the epitome of white-on-white crime. You had a white guy who was well-to-do, so-called millionaire possibly, he owned 2 airplanes from Mesquite, shooting at a country music festival. It doesn't get any wider than this. No. And, you know, and I'm not saying that to, what I'm saying is, you know, shut the fuck up. The black-on-black crime, white-on-white crime, we have other issues. We have police brutality issues, and that's what we're talking about. We have racial injustice issues. White-on-white, black-on-black crime doesn't really matter. Crime is crime, and guns are an issue in this country, whether you want to admit it or not. If you love shooting guns, good for you. However, if somebody said, I think somebody on the timeline said, if pizza was killing everybody, I love pizza, but I would give it up to save some lives. Guns, you should be able to give them. People talk about tyranny, and it's always like crazy right-wingers talking about like tyranny. They're taking the guns. Look, terrorism comes in this form, because that's the other thing. This was domestic terrorism. Terrorism comes in the form of being denied health care, being targeted because you're black, providing no aid to places like Puerto Rico where minorities exist. That's terrorism. You know, that we're already living in terrorism. That tyranny that these white folks are scared of, that's what we go through every day. And it's not gunfire. Nobody's coming to take our guns. They're taking our health care, so our parents and our families are dying of things that they can't get medicated for or can't get help for. Or we're getting killed by the police. Look, ISIS is the last of my concerns, because ISIS has never killed anybody that I know of
at all
in America. But I know people that weren't able to get the proper health care, or I know people that were, like I said, I have a cousin who was killed by the cops. Racial injustice is a real thing. So there's terrorism on our grounds right now. So we have other things to worry about, and gun reform is a part of terrorism. And it's wild, man. It's just ultimately. We need to have empathy. All these conspiracy theories running around, you know, people saying that this was staged to take the attention off of Trump. Like, look, man, like I said, I had a friend whose friend died in this shooting, and it's real. This is not a fake thing. Like, maybe there was 2 shooters, but the fact was that people got shot and killed. And, you know, yes, we should be upset about this, but don't try to flip this. A lot of people are trying to flip this as like, you know, you should stand for the national anthem because of this. No, fuck that. There are still issues in this country, and gun reform is one of them. So we need to take care of that. And it's frustrating to watch these things happen, especially someplace that I grew up.
Yeah, no, it's bananas. I've seen the conspiracy theories fly, obviously, working here at the station. And it's been pretty cool to kind of get, the facts. And one thing is, they're not trying to hide anything. There's no conspiracy at large. If there is a second shooter, listen, nobody's seeing him.
Right.
So it is what it is. You can argue angles all day. You can argue angles, but none of us seen guns like this. None of us have held a modified gun. Shit was bouncing off the ground with still enough force to bounce right back up. People are crouching. They're, under chairs, next to chairs. So don't argue angles. None of us, it's not angles we can comprehend. We know there was one guy, he shot out 2 windows in the same suite and let it loose. And it's sad. It's sad for all the victims here. It's cool to see the community kind of rally around the victims' families afterwards. That has been nice. I've enjoyed reporting on some of that. Tattoo parlors out here are doing a lot of specials, $50 tattoos. All the proceeds go to the victim's family. I went and got one on air yesterday as part of my package. It was cool. It ran all day today on the news. So it was cool to, give back and cover those type of stories. But once again, none of this shit matters if change don't happen. And that's what it comes down to.
One of the things, I said it earlier that I'd address it. For me, it kind of hit close home because for those that know, I cover outdoor festivals for Billboard magazine. And people were like, well, you wouldn't be at a country music concert. Well, I covered EDC. So, last year, I kind of pulled back from covering those outdoor festivals. And so this year I didn't cover as many. I was supposed to cover Life is Beautiful, but things went, one way or another, and I didn't cover it. So it's not beyond the realm of reality that I would have been asked to cover that festival. So that kind of struck home for me. The other thing is finding out that, the shooter allegedly planned to shoot up Life is Beautiful.
Yep.
Which is a hip-hop festival. More, of course, there's rock bands, but there's a lot of acts. So there could have been a lot of us, and a lot of my friends and our friends were at Life is Beautiful. So just to think that, there's more people at Life is Beautiful than Harvest 91, to just think that so many people that we are close to could have died as well. Like, there's a reality that America has a gun problem. It's not a mental illness issue. It's not because there could have been no test ran on that man that would have said, yeah, he might shoot up people. There was nothing. He was he was the perfect guy. Outside of people say, oh, well, he was grumpy. Shit, I'm grumpy. That doesn't make me a shooter.
He gambled. This is Vegas.
Yeah.
Like this, everyone gambles.
Yeah, this is the state of Nevada. People, he's retired, he's got money, and that's what he wanted to do. No mental health test would have figured that out. And most of the things are flawed anyway. And
they found he was planning Lollapalooza over the summer. He had 2 rooms booked there. Like, the guy wanted to do it somewhere. It is very unfortunate and sad that he pulled the trigger this weekend. But there was definitely a problem much larger than him. Yeah.
So, we're not a politics show, but a lot of people know I tweet about politics and whatnot. But we'll move on. But we do have a gun problem in this country, and people need to admit that.
Besides, wait, we can't move on yet because I got a question to ask you, a question I've been thinking about that I haven't even gotten a chance to write about. Maybe I will this weekend. I have some extra time. Floyd Mayweather. He's been boxing's face and the face of Las Vegas. He's been the face of Las Vegas sports for the past decade. His face was on the side of the MGM. I've heard nothing. Guy just cashed out for $250. I'm not saying he owes it to anyone, but you would think there would be something.
Yeah, this is a tough one. The challenges of somebody like Floyd Mayweather, and I've always, I used to be one of those people that used to say, you should donate, or you should do this with your money. You got enough money to do that. I've always been one of those. I used to be one of those people. Now I'm like, do what you want. It's your money.
Something.
Well, Floyd's case is he's all about America. So it puts him, it puts me in a tough spot to comment on this because, at the same time, I don't necessarily want every celebrity to publicize if they're donating, right? I think that's unnecessary, and I think they do it for the wrong reasons. However, in Floyd Mayweather's case, somebody who's always talking about America, you'd like to actually see him step up and do something. He clearly doesn't care about Black Lives Matter. That's not his bag. So maybe America's his bag, and his place that he calls home in his bag.
I was about to say, this is his city. That's the difference.
Yeah.
If something is your city, like the UFC is here.
Right.
And they gave a little something. Like, if this is your city and you're Mayweather, and in large part, Vegas is part of the reason he's earned a lot of that money.
True indeed. True indeed.
It happened to fit the form of what he was doing, and he made it part of his grand plan. If something happens, and you're so close, not even just to Vegas, to MGM as a property, and this is an MGM property, nothing seems a little strange. And in that age, this ain't the 80s no more. This isn't the 90s. This isn't where you can be the highest level and stay quiet. Ali back then was the rarity. Now, we see top athletes in every sport coming out and speaking on it. At least talking about real life issues. It's not just stick to sports anymore. So it is expected that the number one voice in boxing, a guy who just used Vegas to cash out on another $300 million, would say something.
Yeah.
To hell with the money. Say something.
I mean, again, I'd like for him to do something, but I just know what I'm dealing with here. And, like, we should all know what we're dealing with. I mean, for me, it'd almost be hypocritical to say you should do something about this, but he should have done something about Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of things he should have done something about. You know, he says he donates. He's done back-to-school programs, and, and he gets credit for those things. I just don't know what the expectation of Floyd Mayweather is. He's never been a guy that I've ever looked at that strikes me as a guy who does anything for other people. It's really about him. So whether he donates or not, I don't even know what that means. You know, it's like if he does it, it's like, well, great, but do you really care? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. And yes, I'd like to see him donate, but I'd like to see him donate prior to that.
I just want to see a community effort, something. He's throwing like really good. Not the hell with giving money, because you don't know where your money goes all the time. He's rented out parks, done cookouts. Yeah. He could have just bought mad food to the families, to the victims. You do something hand to hand. You're in the community.
Maybe is he even in the state right now?
I don't know if he's here. That's the problem. Like
there's a lot, man. It's just a lot. And like I said, Floyd Mayweather, like the Floyd Mayweather activist thing, passed me by a long time ago. I asked him like in an interview before the Ricky Hatton fight about donating to the community that he came from, or the state that he came from. And he kind of shrugged me off. And from that point, I was like, there's never anything really political about Floyd. He's just in it for the money that he makes. And good for him. He's made a lot of money for himself. But I just don't have that expectation of him anymore. Is it disappointing? Yeah, but I know what I'm dealing with. I don't expect much out of Floyd Mayweather. He's made a lot of money, and he's going to do what he wants with it. And I can't tell him to do anything he wants with it. But again, this is no surprise. It's not a revelation. This is not me saying anything else. It's just I know what I'm dealing with. Yeah. When he says America, or he says that Kaepernick shouldn't kneel, I know what I'm dealing with.
And at that point, I'm like, level.
I'm good on Floyd as an individual. Greatest fighter, personally, whatever.
Talking about greatest fighter, we'll switch to combat sports and stay with Mayweather. Conor McGregor said he's whooping Floyd in a rematch.
That's not true, but go ahead, Conor.
I mean, but with Nate, he lost to Nate. He said, now I know. Now I know what I got to do to get ready for Nate. I know how I have to train. These are the people I got to bring in. This is what he did to me. This is how I got to switch it. He came back. He worked Nate.
Yeah, but like again, if I'm picking up a bat for the first time, if I'm Tim Tebow and I'm facing Clayton Kershaw, you're probably still going to strike out. So it's like, I'm going to hit a home run the next dog. No. Like he was like, I was getting the better of Floyd. No, Floyd knew what to do with you. You didn't know what to do with Floyd. Floyd knew what to do with you. You were in his territory, and he knew to cover up. He knew you weren't going to hurt him. There's nothing you can do differently, Conor. And the one thing that doesn't change for a lot of fighters is cardio. Shit don't change.
Nah, you just got to knock people out early, and you're not getting Floyd out there early.
Nah, man, it's a different ball game. So you can chill with that. There will never be a rematch. Floyd used you to cash out. You
never
used
say never.
Out. Yeah, it shouldn't be a rematch. This shouldn't be. I mean,
there shouldn't be.
There's just no reason for this to happen. But yeah, in this day and age, anything can happen. So, Conor can't convince me that he could ever be Floyd Mayweather on Floyd's worst day. Maybe when Floyd turns 60, but even still, I think Floyd will be in great shape to beat Conor McGregor.
That's a damn shame. 60-year-old Mayweather?
Yeah.
Versus, 45-year-old Conor?
Yeah, I think he still watches him in a boxing match.
Oh, that's
horrible. Look at Bernard. Bernard's in his 50s, and he can still fight. Bernard would whoop Conor's ass, too, so it is what it is.
That's true. That's not false. UFC is this weekend. No Conor McGregor on the card. No Conor McGregor in sight, even though a belt is on the line in his division. No Conor McGregor, and the drama, though, is continuing. it's bad enough they don't have stars. At this point, you don't know if their fighters are making cards. You don't know if the people who aren't stars are going to, be there to headline. How do you even put faith in the UFC? How do you buy a ticket at this point and buy into something when main events are just teetering in the air?
Yeah, I mean, this whole Kevin Lee situation, I mean, we waited because Kevin Lee, had to lose 19 pounds in like 24 hours, and the fool was eating tiramisu. First of all, I don't even understand why Kevin Lee would tell the world he needs to drop 19 pounds. Like, your opponent doesn't need to know that. Anyway, he weighs in at 156. He needs to lose a pound in another hour. So he left the world teetering on whether this would happen again. Poor Tony Ferguson. The guy can't ever seem to have an opponent that's healthy. Everybody's bitching at Conor for not defending his title, but who's he going to defend against if nobody can make weight? Mm-hmm. So we have a fundamental problem here. So we'll start with this. The UFC is continuing to have a horrible year because main events and fights keep falling out. Whether it's weight issues, like we just saw Ray Borg fall out with the Demetrius Johnson fight and landed, he's back in it now. We have the Amanda Nunes. Like, it's just weight issues. I propose that there should be more weight classes. People are pushing back. Like Kevin Lee should be more responsible for his weight. While that is true, there is a huge gap between 155 and 170.
Yes. Where
people are just going to be tremendously outsized. Why would it hurt to change weight classes like 40, 30, 50, 60, like and so on? 15-pound weight gap and a 20-pound weight gap between light heavyweight and middleweight is too much. And you're forcing fighters who are in between to cut weight. Cutting weight is never healthy, and it leads to shit like this. There's a reason why boxing never deals with this kind of an issue. You never hear about fighters falling out 24 hours before the fight happens.
No, but they often pay each other, though. I mean, Broner, he put a little extra money on the table. Canelo puts a little bit of extra money on the table. They be like, yo, let's let this happen. So, title fights are canceled for one party fairly often.
Again, how many fights have been canceled in the 24th hour because of weight? Like, how many guys have been egregiously overweight or couldn't make weight?
Nah,
a pound
you're never egregiously overweight. It's like a pound. You hit them with some paper, and you just say, let's get it on.
When's the last title fight that a fighter is coming overweight?
That's a good question. I feel like it just happened not too long ago, but I guess it's not of high consequence because I can't remember.
Because there's multiple weight classes. Because guys can compete at multiple weight classes. Like, the weight that you can hit. In MMA, it's like you got guys like Aljamain Sterling who are cutting down. You got Ray Borg who walks around like 150 cutting down. It's like it gets a little out of control. And guys think they've mastered the art of weight cutting, but then your body always tells you otherwise. I mean, on The Ultimate Fighter just recently, one of the women she was like, my body just quit. Your body quits. And they're shaving insane amount of weight. Like, there's a reason why they need to add another weight class in the women's division because there were women that were caught in the middle that couldn't compete. What does it hurt to add more weight classes? Kevin Lee should be fighting at 160.
It hurts a lot more to add bullshit interim belts than it does to add a weight class.
Absolutely. So it's like, go compete in another weight class if you can't make weight, if you struggle. I mean, if you can move around weight classes just like boxers do, it's like, okay, I can go from 35 to 40 to 47 to 54. You can move up and challenge for different weights. And people are like, well, that'll dilute it. No, it won't. There's 1 billion UFC cards a year, right? If Conor McGregor could be a 3 or 4 division champion, that doesn't dilute anything.
No.
It's like maybe you got a vacated belt, but there's still one title per weight class. It's not like boxing where there's multiple titles per weight class. One title per weight class. Guys can move around. I don't see anything wrong with that. Daniel Cormier can compete at heavyweight, come back down to light heavyweight, fight a cruiserweight, or what have you.
Ooh, I don't see as a cruiserweight would be dope.
So why don't you have it? It's for the safety of the fighters. Ultimately, is what you're doing is the safety of the fighters. Fighters maybe won't be so irresponsible cutting weight if they know there's another weight class they can go to. And it would also prevent fighters from dropping down ridiculously to weights that they shouldn't be at because there's another weight class in between.
No, you're spot on. I mean, I shared it on my Twitter. I wrote the article for Champions early last year. It's well overdue, man. And there's no reason not to. If your argument is it creates too many belts, you already have like 4 interims out there. So you lose that argument. So it doesn't matter. You have people fighting comfortably. We can see the matchups we want to see. That's what really matters. We can see the matchups we want to see. We can see Khabib fight at 160 against Tony and Tony can still possibly fight at 150 or wherever he wants to go. Or if it's 155 or 165, 165 might